Sometimes the second time around just sucks. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our top 10 picks for the most disappointing video game sequels.
It's good.
Just to be clear, our criteria is not based on whether or not the game was terrible, because many of these games are technically very well made. Rather, these titles didn't live up to the expectations or frameworks set by their predecessors, causing a lasting sense of disappointment. Number 10. Perfect Dark Zero. Kicking off our list is the follow-up to Rare's critically acclaimed N64 futuristic spy shooter centered on a secret agent caught in the middle of warring alien factions. With Nintendo selling Rare to Microsoft, the franchise re-emerged on the Xbox 360's infinitely superior hardware. Unfortunately, what we got was just a pretty follow-up that followed a bland origin story totally lacking in aliens, as well as all of the spice that made the original so... original?
Let me live.
Sorry.
No, not like this.
Number 9. Resident Evil 5 and 6. Capcom's previous installment was an entry so bold that it removed the classic zombies and retained the scares, proving itself to be, arguably, the best of the series. Leave it to number 5 to disappoint for not being remotely scary, retain the control issues and add new ones, focus too much on action, and add a healthy dose of racism to boot. Then number 6 came along and gave us more characters, more action, and even less fun. Number 8. Dragon Age 2. How do you disappoint those who gravitated towards a game for its compelling plot, variety of characters, and complex gameplay? Easy, you don't include any of those things in the sequel. When you market a game as the return to deep, difficult RPGs, it's best not to release a button-mashing sequel stripped of all the complexity. People wanted Dragon Age to be the next Baldur's Gate, not a bloodier version of Fable. Number 7. Duke Nukem Forever. This should have been the follow-up that kicked ass while chewing bubblegum. Even with toned-down expectations following a decade of development troubles, gamers still expected something to live up to the name. A disjointed mix of old and new shooter tropes, it featured simple level design, subpar production values, and way too much sexual innuendo.
Alright, time for my reward.
Gamers had matured, the Duke had not.
You might grow up to be as awesome as me.
Number 6. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords. BioWare's original Knights of the Old Republic from 2003 was an RPG that gamers enjoyed immensely. Cue everyone's excitement for the sequel. Unfortunately, it came way too quickly after being given to Obsidian for development, arriving unpolished and lacking in strategy or humor. Oddly, the game was less focused on its own characters and more interested in those from the previous adventure. This, rather ironically, was a feeling that was soon mirrored by those who played it. Number 5. Star Fox Adventures. Once in a while, a game comes along that is a special kind of disappointment. This disappointment in question came from Nintendo's decision to recast Rare's Dinosaur Planet project with Star Fox characters. As a result, the new IP had to settle for being an installment that betrayed everything the franchise stood for, namely its on-rail space shooting. Adding insult to injury, the whole thing felt like a weak Zelda clone, with nary a barrel roll in sight. Talk about a bummer.
I've been looking forward to this day, to see you again, Fox McCloud.
Number 4. Diablo 3. Although Diablo 3 offered superlative gameplay and an intuitive skill system, it committed several cardinal sins that have had it labeled a resounding failure in the eyes of many. A buggy launch, an opportunistic real money auction system, and an abysmal plot were one thing, but it was the disappointing endgame content that finally nailed the coffin shut. Gamers expected to be able to play Diablo 3 for another 10 years like they had Diablo 2, but a short campaign and a viciously unforgiving Inferno mode put those dreams to rest real fast. At least it took some of the heat off Mass Effect 3's ending. Number 3. Super Mario Bros. 2. While it was a tough call deciding what disappointed more, this or Super Mario Sunshine, we're gonna have to go with Mario 2 for being developed under the premise that Western gamers were too unskilled to handle the real deal, which was already being played in Japan. That's right, Mario 2 transported Westerners out of the Mushroom Kingdom and into a radically unfamiliar port of a game called Doki Doki Panic, now starring Mario. Number 2. Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. The first Legend of Zelda was a big deal. That game changed how we saw and perceived adventure games to be. A year later, gamers were left scratching their heads when the sequel turned out to be a side-scroller. Hard as hell, it introduced random battle generations, a merciless live system, and a game over screen. While many sadistic souls enjoyed it, the rest of us barely count it as a Zelda game. Number 1. Deus Ex 2: Invisible War. Taking the top spot on our list is a game that many consider to be the prime example in the decline of modern games. Deus Ex is still thought of as one of the best PC games of all time. Its twisting plot, strict RPG style, and limitless gameplay options made it a timeless classic. So the removal of all of those features for its console-friendly sequel was total video game heresy. PC gamers still hold a grudge against consoles to this day because of the oversimplification of Invisible War, making it the Phantom Menace of the video game world.
Excellent work, Alex. Prepare this Tower of Babel, and just when the king reaches out to touch the sky, we will be there to snatch his hand away.
Which video game sequel massively affected you with disappointment? For more entertaining top 10s, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
That was fun. Was it good for you, baby?